Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith, I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom. And today I'm playing with the fabulous Friendly Gnomes, which is a new stamp set in the January to April catalogue. And the great thing is this actually coordinates with a bundle that was in the previous catalogue, which was the Kindest Gnomes. So this one had these fabulous 4 gnomes and the little house, as you can see here, and apologies for my ring lights being so visible. I will try and move those a little for you. And what you had was, as I say, dies that cut out these plus some extras, which you can see I've got in here. But this stamp set, because you've got a different figure, but this little female gnome here is the same outline as this one, so the die fits. This little one here with the heart is the same as our little lantern gnome, and this one with the flowers in their beard is the same as this one here. So I would recommend you buy both stamp sets and the dies, because then you've got lots of different options to play with. And you've got fabulous sentiments on here as well. And then you've got some extra ones here, and they're different fonts. So, you know, you can have a real play around. So that's what I'm using for the stamp set. This is the paper I'm using, so it's Celebration, free with a £45 spend. So if you buy those 2 stamp sets or the stamp sets in the bundle, then this is one of the things that you can choose for free. And this comes in, this is 12 by 12 paper, double-sided, 2 sheets each of the 6 designs. And you can see lovely floral images, and then sort of solid colours on the back of that one, some lovely Night of Navy, sort of mossy meadow and old olive, and some fresh freesia. This sheet comes with 6 of these panels and 2 of these long panels, and then the reverse are these fabulous muted watercolour and speckled backgrounds, and that's what I've used on the project. Again, more sort of lovely meadow flowers, and again some great background generic ones. And then this one again comes in, you get 2 strips of this opposite each other, so you can make fabulous, you know, 6 card fronts so easily. And on the reverse there you've got some, again, old olive sort of with hints of mossy meadow. So that's the paper I'm using, and the project was really inspired. I can't believe, you know, but look, milk chocolate gonk. So I kind of went, well, if you've got a gonk, you know, I want to treat somebody with it. I kind of guess it might be, it's kind of aimed for the Easter market, rather than Easter bunny, a bit of an Easter gonk. But I thought a little cute box, and I've used it for this, but obviously you could use it for all sorts of things. So we've got a lovely little wrap, and I've got a bit of Wink of Stella on there. I've used some of the paper on the sides, optional. Open it up, there's no one better than you, because I just thought it was a great little treat. And then we've got a little panel for you to write a sentiment, a little love heart, and then our little gonk a chocolate on the inside. So other things that I'm using on this, the Very Best Trio Punch, because I've used that to chop the corners, so easy, and it makes popping these corners when you're making boxes so the lid fits in really easy. And this one has a lovely, if you can see it there we go, a lovely sort of ornament corner, and then you've got this little slot as well that you can create. So really it is a Very Best. I don't very often buy the trio punches. This one is a definite. So that's what we're making. Okay, so to create my stamped images, and this is what I do when I want to make multiples of an image. I've actually already got my I've got a piece of my Stampin' Up! Paper here, and I've die cut each of the image outlines out of this card here. You can see just some old scrap card that I've got. And what I will do is, first of all, make sure I've got plenty of space. I'll ink up those images and just stamp those down on my paper. Then come in and pop your outline over the top. And there are lots of demonstrators do this. It's a kind of variation of what we used to do for punches, but I just find it really, useful. So I'm just coming in, and you can see I've made sure my stamped images are kind of spread out so that I've got enough space to pop my my magnets. So those are all in place now. So now what I'm going to do, that one's just, as I say, let's go. So I'm going to pop my just plain white die cut images in here, which you can just sit and cut. You can be watching television and just go ahead and die cut those images when you haven't got to worry about it. And this is to save lining it up and kind of, I'm not going to say ruining, but having the danger of it popping or taping it down. And then particularly when I'm doing flowers or something I'm going to use multiples of, and I want to do them quite quickly. That one I'm just going to move because you'll see it's moved slightly. I'm just using my take your pick. There we go. Just, and you'll see it just, I'm just fitting it back into that empty hole. And then ink up with my memento, which obviously covers Stampin' with blends. If I'm wanting to use my watercolour pencils and a blender pen, I will do it with this. And there we have our stamped images. And if you hadn't quite stamped them well enough, then you can just come in. So I'm just going to show you on this one here. I'm just going to come in and re-ink that one up and just stamp down again, and you'll get a really crisp black image. So having done that, I use my take your pick with the putty end and just pick those out and pop those away. But it means then I can have a whole little stash of them ready to use for next time. So I do a batch of die cutting and then a batch of stamped images. Okay, so now we can get on. We've done our stamping. We're going to want to do some cutting of cardstock. So what are you going to need in the way of cardstock? You are going to need half a sheet of your base colour, a kind of probably a quarter of a sheet of your layer for the wrap. I've got some scraps of basic white and contrast colour, so you know, not much else there. So that can be that's ready for us to do some die cutting. But before we go any further, I'm going to what am I going to do? I'm going to colour my images, and you'll see what I did with my original sample was I just used a little bit of colour and then blended it out with a blender pen. So I've got my blender pen here. I used a bit of Wink of Stella as well, and you could also use your Stampin' blends as well to do that. Let's just, I'm going to use Rich Raspberry again, and you'll see I've already got some Rich Raspberry, and what I've done is I've just tapped my ink pad onto a clear block. It won't harm the block, it won't stain, just wash it afterwards, and then you can just come in and pick up a bit of colour, and you can use that to colour. So it's our flowers here, and that's just one way of adding some interest, and it will get lighter as you can see there. So if I use it now, you'll see it's lighter. The other way is to use our Wink of Stella and just pop a drop onto there, and you don't need very much at all. There we go, just see there, and then that becomes like a little ink pot, and then you can come in, and I love this because it just enables me to have some fun. And I'm using Rich Raspberry because that's one of the colours in the paper itself. So I'm just going to come in and kind of colour the trousers and the jumper a little bit. If I wanted to do the hat, what I'd do is I'd take the kind of, just like when we do with blends, so take that deep colour first, and then once you've done that, just carry on with the brush. Dilute it a little bit more if you want it a bit paler. There we go. There we go. just sort of come in like so. And what I actually did was I used just a bit of cherry cobbler on this one, just to do that heart as well, because that happened to be to hand. And I say, the reason I'm sort of not spending so much time, you know, it's a little chocolate treat. You know, if you're going to use this for a long-term gift, like some jewellery or something, you perhaps might take a little bit more time over it. Then again, I'm just going to so if I come round on the sides and then come in. Now obviously, because it's not like a blender pen, it's not alcohol based in the same way, so I'm kind of, whereas I would do the outline first, on this I'm just doing it all in one go rather than coming back to it. And then just a hint of, there we go, a little bit of wink of Stella. There we go. Just a little bit of fun. So other bits of stamping we want to do. So on the inside, we want a piece for the front, for our front panel, and we want a piece for the inside that we're going to stamp as well. So I'm going to pop those to the side. I've obviously only used the 2 images. I've got another one handy. But what we're doing is I'm going to stamp my flowers, which I've got here. I also want to stamp my inner piece of DSP with my sentiment as well. So I've already got that mounted on a block as well. My 2 larger pieces, so I want a piece of basic white and a piece of DSP for the inside, and these are 8 by 5 centimetres. And then for the front, I want a piece of white that is 7 by 4.5 to go on the front there as well. So that's my one for the front. So I'm going to want my little toadstool. Again, you could stamp that in a colour if you wanted and grab the image, or you can just stamp it in memento, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to ink that up. Oh, in fact, no, I'm going to use my DSP. Yeah. So for my stamping, I want a piece of DSP that's 7 by 4.5, a piece of basic white for the inside, which is 8 by 5, and also a piece of DSP that is 8 by 5 as well. I'm just going to ink up my stamp for the front, and just to decide how you're going to orientate that, and I'm just going to stamp my little house. I probably knocked the camera there. There we go. So that's my sort of little house to the front, and that's going to have my little gnome on the front there. So I'm going to want to add some colour to that. On the inside here, I'm going to stamp my flowers. So this is my panel for my sentiment or message, like so. And then my final piece of DSP is the one I'm going to use for to have that sentiment on the inside. So I've just got that mounted up. I'm just going to sort of use my grid paper to kind of make sure that's reasonably square. And I thought these would make, you know, fun little gifts, table favours when it comes to Easter maybe, or if you're having a meal, you've got kids around, you want to give them a little treat, or big kids by the same way as well. So I'm just going to do the same in terms of colouring for my flowers. Just add those in there. And again, you could colour the leaves as well if you wanted to. And then just to make it stand out a little more, like so. Then I'm going to use the sort of lighter colour on the top. Very rough and ready that is, gosh. There we go. What that does is the background gives a bit of texture, and again you can come in And I'm just using very simple colouring here to add a little bit of interest. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to add our gnome to the front. Oh, in fact, what I'm actually going to do is add it to a layer. So I'm actually going to do a layer of fresh freesia in this instance. I love rich raspberry and fresh freesia together. I think they're a fabulous combo. And I will, for one, be very sorry to see fresh freesia go when it changes in April. One of our current in colours. So if you like it, grab it while you still can. So I'm just going to pop that on the front there. That's going to go to one side, and that's going to go to one side as well, ready for us to use in a minute. So on to the actual box construction itself. You're going to want your trimmer, and as I said, half a sheet of cardstock. And with this, you're going to want to, it's 20.5 by 14.5 centimetres, 7 7/8 by 5 3/4. So if you're using UK cardstock, you can get 2 out of a sheet of A4. I'm just going to check I've got that already trimmed. I have. So I'm going to score on the long edge at 5.5, at 7.5, at 13, and at 15 centimetres. Then on the short, I'm going to score at 1, so I'm going to do that on the right hand side here, and at 3. Then just flip that round and score at 11.5 and 13.5. I have done all the measurements in inches. You'll find them in the box below. If you're struggling with the scoring at all, you can do 1 and 3 on both sides, either way. You're then going to want your wrap as well, and with the wrap we're actually going to free sort of score that, if you like. So I'm not going to give you measurements, but we're just going to fold and crease as we go along. Okay, so now what we want to do, we've scored our cards, we want to reinforce those score lines. And then we're going to come in and do some trimming. So what you're going to want to do, so on the long edge, you're going to cut straight down the sides of that middle section. And we're going to cut our tabs. So you're going to cut away to create a tab, like so. You're going to do the same on the other side of that centre section. So again, cut straight down, across, and just notch out, like so. Okay. This piece then you're going to cut on one end away both squares. Okay, and on this end you're just going to cut away the narrow section. So like so. Turn that around. And do the same on the opposite side. So again, coming in, coming straight down those tabs. Again, the notching out just helps reduce the bulk a little bit when we're creating our box. And then this final one, we're just taking away that outside edge. Okay, so you're going to end up with something that looks like this. So this is the one where we're going to use our corner chomper. So we're using the square, that straight corner, and I'm just going to pop that in nice and square, make sure it's butted up, and then repeat that on the other side. Just make sure you're not catching any of your tabs, so you're going to have this nice little effect. We're going to do the same on our punch, and I just flip it on a punch on our layer, and that layer is going to go onto the front there, so we can pop that on now while it's flat, so that can be drying. Like so. Okay. And I mentioned at the other end, so if you imagine it's going to fold up like this, we want this front corner to be chomped. Again, just make sure that's nicely butted up, nice and square. You've got nice guides on each side, so you're going to cut those two corners. Okay. So now you can see this is our lid and these are our sides. So we want to add these, add some glue to these inner tabs. Now it's up to you entirely. If you've got the time, Tombow will give it a really good join. If you have got Seal Plus, and I've got an order in to get myself some more Seal Plus, then that is perfect. And if you haven't, then you can always resort to good old fine liner tape. So that's what I'm going to do, because that's what I happen to have to hand. So I'm just going to pop a little piece of tape on each of those little tabs. And then what we're going to do is also add some adhesive. Oh, in fact, I need to trim it to these bits here. So these pieces are going to fold in and going to reinforce the top. It's going to neaten it and strengthen it. But again, we don't want the bulk, so just come in and cut a small diagonal on the end, like we did with our tabs. Like so. And then pop some tape or some glue on the edge of those as well to hold that down in place. And I've deliberately kept these tabs just small. Again, little chocolate box, you know, it doesn't need to be massively reinforced, but if you were giving it, you could always make it a bit wider, have longer tabs that it covers all the way down to cover those tabs off. And then all we need to do is close up our tabs. So what I'm doing there is I'm taking the tape off, I'm lining that up nice and square on the edge, and then I'm going to take that tape off and fold that over and really rub that down with your bone folder to get that nice and well adhered. So again, on the edge there, and then again coming in and giving that a good burnish down just on the inside there. So now our box comes together, those tabs fold in and that folds in, and that's a really nice snug fit. So what we want to do is add our layers. So I'm going to add my little layer on the inside there. And I can just pop that in. On the inside, a bit like a little card. I've got some DSP to go on the top there, so that's again 8 by 5 centimetres. Not essential, it just finishes it off slightly. When you take the wrap off, I kind of, when I was creating it, oh no, tell a lie. I suppose just goes to show just how you do things differently. So that's what I was going to do, but I forgot. So now we're going to do it slightly differently. So I'm going to have I shall have my little panel there. This is what happens when you create things and it's like, oh, I forgot to do that. So I'm going to add my little gnome just on the inside, just tuck it in because you don't want that to be visible. So that's going to just be like so. Grab your little treat. And all I've done is just tuck those two ends of that treat in there. And it does two things. It helps hold it secure and it kept the size down as well. So there's our little box. Done slightly differently to my original, but now we're ready to come in with our wrap. So with the wrap, you want to start with it lined up to one edge and just crease it like so. And once you've creased, come in with the bone folder. Do the same again on the side. You don't want to crease it too tight. So where I've kind of creased it, I'm going to make sure that I sort of fold almost a little bit on the outside of that. So I'm lining up my edge. Because you want some space for it to slide. So the same again here. So not pulling it too tight. And then just, you see there, I'm kind of just, as I say, just kind of going to the outside of that crease. And the last one, oh, I didn't tell you the measurements of that wrap. So the minimum you need it to be is 17 by 8 centimetres. This one I think was my full 21 centimetres, just because I happen to have a piece that fits. So you'll see it's just slightly short. So all I'm going to do is tuck that in there. But if you've only got a piece that's anything from 17 centimetres upwards in effect. So I'm just going to add some adhesive and let's line that up, and you'll find that's now a nice fit for our box. I'm actually going to put the join at the back so it's nice and you get the nice smooth edge on the front, and then we can just add our layer. There we go. So there we have a pair of sweet treat boxes using our new friendly gnomes. Got no one better than you, and you can see just a little treat. And my second one, and do you know what, I think I actually prefer it like this. We've got our little treat box with our sentiment on the inside. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button. If you stay till the end, you'll find a link to another one of my videos. But if you can if you want to comment, by all means do so. And the dimensions are in the description box below this video as well. And lots more projects on both my YouTube and my blog. So thank you for watching. And if you want to get this paper for free, just place an order for £45 or more during celebration, and it's one of your choices. Thanks for watching. Bye now.